We have in front of us a simple table. These are some stock prices. We have a date column, an open price, a high, a low, and a close price. And for the purposes of this exercise, we have calculated the average, the max, the min, the standard deviation, one standard deviation above and one standard deviation below. What we're going to look at here are these conditional formattings. So let's get into it. Let's highlight this open column. There are some numbers in here, mostly around $16. What we want to do is we want to do a conditional formatting on this column. So let's look at the first conditional formatting option. We can do, for the highlighted cells, we can apply a greater than rule, we can apply a less than rule, we can apply a between rule. Let's start out by applying the greater than rule. Click on the greater than rule, and so there it has Excel has applied the greater than rule for us from on its own, and it has given us a greater than value of 16.145. So all cells that have a value greater than 16.145 have a color. So let's give it our own value. We will give it greater than minimum value, 15.76, and we will leave the coloring of light red filled with dark red text, and we click OK. And the rule still, we have this one value which is below our greater than value, which doesn't meet our criteria. The rest of the values do, so the colors of the cells have changed. Now let's look at the second column, and we will apply a different kind of conditional formatting over here. We'll apply the less than conditional formatting, and we will give the less than value of 16.8, and we will click OK. And so let's actually give this a different color. So right now you see there we've already applied formatting to these cells. We want to give it a different color. So what we need to do is, if you want to remove the formatting, we click on conditional formatting, and then at the bottom over here it says clear rule, and clear rule for selected cells, and now it has cleared the rule for the selected cells. Let's go back in there and give it a less than rule. We will make less than value, we'll come up with an arbitrary value for less than, and we will make that less than value 16.15. So any values that are less than 16.15 should have a different color. Well, that none of the values were less than 16.15. Let's change the rule so that we can see some color in there. We need to change the option for the text, and the 16.52, the computer gave us the values. So now in this column, all the cells that have a value of less than 16.52 have a different color. Now let's look at this next column, column E, and we will apply a between function. And so in the highlight cells rules, we have this option of between. And so let's give the between has two ranges within which we can, the cells are going to have a different color. Let's pick yellow fill with the dark yellow text, and we will make the between the max and the min. And well, let's see if it works with something. The max should come first, or min should come first, and then click OK. It's min and max, and there it is. So this min and max is calculated on our totals column. So we will change the formula a little, and here we go. So all the values fall between 15.43 and 16.61. As you can see, the formula is calculating for column E. Before it was not. Let's make this only applicable to the selected column. and all we need to do is drag this lower part up onto our selected row area and click enter. And for the next min calculation as well, we'll do the same thing. We'll drag the lower part up for this blue rectangle, press enter, and we are calculating the max and the min on the same values. So now let's look at this last column, column F, all these values in column F. We will apply the equal to formula in here, equal to rule, and I'll click on equal to, and so we know that one of these values has to be equal to the maximum, so we'll just pick the maximum and we'll click OK. And well, no, none of them are going to equal to the maximum because we changed the formula for the maximum. So we will have to change this function again. We go to conditional formatting, highlight, equal to, and we'll give it an arbitrary value of 16.8. And so we know that this first cell meets that criteria, so you can see the color change in the cell. So now let's look at what kind of formatting or conditional formatting we can apply to the dates over here. I have the dates highlighted. I click on conditional formatting, go to highlighted cell rule, and then down here I have a date occurrence rule. So I click on the date occurrence rule, and it has a, well, let's pick a different color. We will call it green fill. And so you can see when I picked yesterday is green, and then if I wanted the last 7 days, now the last 7 days are green. So we can also look at the top 10 values. So now what you have to remember is that all this conditional formatting that we have applied onto these cells is still on the cells. Any additional conditional formatting is going to be applied on top of the conditional formatting that is already there. So let's look at this column right here, and let's apply some other conditional formatting. And we want to apply maybe let's apply this top 10. So the top 10 items get a different color. We can make from less than 10 to 1 as well. And then let's try another one of these top 10%, and this 16.8 is in the top 10%. Let's apply the bottom 10 items, and we can bring the number down, and you'll see that some of the cells are still highlighted. So then beyond these top 10, bottom 10, we also have the bottom 10% above average. So we'll click on above average and see how many of them are above average. So now right now this cell has a lot of different formatting on it. So we want to see the original formatting just for the above average. What we need to do is, there are two ways to get rid of the formatting. We can highlight all the cells, click on this down arrow, and then click on this clear rules, and this will clear the rules for us. Or we can also highlight all these, highlight a cell that doesn't have any formatting, copy the formatting from the cell, and then apply it to all the cells in row in column F. And now again we have removed the formatting. So let's highlight these cells, and let's do conditional formatting, and then let's do an above average. So we will give it red text. So all the values that are above average have a red text, and the remaining values have a black text. Again, we want to remove this formatting. We highlight a cell that doesn't have any formatting, copy formatting, and paste formatting. We are also able to, after highlighting the cells that we want to do the calculation on, we are also able to apply these different kinds of grid line fills. For instance, this one, blue data bar, it states right underneath it that add a colored data bar to represent the values in a cell. The higher the value, the longer the bar. So these values are perhaps very close to each other, so you don't see as much difference, but I will just quickly create some random values for you. Is by using the rand between function, and between 1 and 100, and I will copy this formula to this column, and now let's apply the data bar based on how close it is, how high the value is, and you can see how this gradient fill is different for the different values.